Hi, my name is Jason Lewis. I am the co-president of the Window Shading Association along with Chris Parkinson. We're really happy to have you here to launch the WincovER simulator. It's an amazing tool that we think adds a huge amount of value to our members, either existing members or hopefully new members that are going to come on. It's a great tool for the retailers, it's a great tool for the consumers and also for the wholesalers. I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to put this out to all of your customers to enable you to sell higher value product. But we're going to take you through the journey. So, consumers care about energy savings. A realestate.com.au survey recently said 59% of people care, who are buying homes or renting homes, care about energy efficiency. It's more than 1 in 2 people. And the news headlines just continue to go on. ABC News tells us that $80 billion is going to be spent on energy efficiency upgrades in the home. The Guardian says that Australians could cut 90% of their power bill by making their homes more efficient. The Australian Financial Review, the AFR, says there are 7 ways to retrofit your home and slash energy bills. And the Sydney Morning Herald talks about the fact that most houses are only 2 stars and they perform really poorly. The conversation is growing, as you all know. But at the moment, unfortunately, window furnishings are not front and centre. Realestate.com.au did another survey recently, which was really quite interesting. And it talks about what buyers and renters are interested in. So buyers are on the left-hand side. I really like using the pointer. The buyers are on the left-hand side and renters are on the right-hand side. And buyers are talking about solar, they're talking about insulation, they're talking about the position of their homes or the orientation of their homes, which is a confusing one for me because I don't know how you move your house's orientation. Airflow, lighting efficiency, and double glazing. Window furnishings aren't in the conversation yet, and that's why we're here now. I'm going to introduce you to the WincovER simulator and show you a video, and then we'll keep going. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so welcome to the WincovER simulator worlds. We're very excited to present, but before we do, we want to talk a little bit about the history of WincovER. Some of you are across it, but I think it's important for everyone to understand how and why we got here. Robert Mayer, who hopefully will join us this afternoon, was a huge part of the energy efficiency story for the Window Furnishings Association. He got involved about 14 years at a board level. And he worked with the Australian Fenestration Board, with WSAA, and then he was very important in the creation of WincovER, along with Dr Peter Lyons and Rebecca Powles, who's joined us here today, who's going to talk a little bit about the science shortly. What happened was we got to a point where we soft launched WincovER with our partners Osroll and also with Hunter Douglas. And that soft launch was fantastic. We issued about 4,000 certificates or Ausroll, issued about 4,000 certificates to their customers, showing the energy efficiency of their product and helping their customers understand how many savings they could get across heating, cooling, and through their CO2 savings, which is an amazing journey. At the same time, as the launch happened of the soft launch, we were asked from NatHERS. So NatHERS is the National Household Energy Rating Scheme. They're very big with new home ratings. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, but most new homes need to be rated to 7 stars, or all new homes need to be at 7 stars. So that's the new home rating scheme. In 2022, they came to us and said they'd like to start an existing home rating scheme, which makes a lot of sense to me. There's 11 million existing homes, and there's only 140,000 new homes built every single year. It won't surprise you, or it may surprise you, that the average star rating of an existing home is 1.8 stars. So it seems crazy that we're forcing people to build new homes at 7 stars, yet there's 11 million homes that exist that are only 1.8 stars. And the government has noticed that, and what they've decided to do is put together a plan to assess every single home at either the time of sale or the time of rent. And I think ultimately what their plan will be to force or ask, or probably force, us to increase the star ratings of our existing homes before we sell. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to send in an assessor, and the assessor is going to look at the insulation, they're going to look at the glazing, and they're going to be able to give a certificate to the owner of the property that will say your house is star rated to this level. And on the other side, there's going to be recommendations of what you can do to increase the star ratings of the home. We are in that conversation. But to get into that conversation, we needed to come up with some really, really simple methods for an assessor who isn't from the industry, like all of you are, to be able to recognise what a window furnishing is. So for us, it's not a problem. We walk into a house, we see a roller blind, we see that it's back-rolled or in a cassette system or an external awning. We know what it is. We know whether it's translucent or screen or blockout. But to an assessor who has never worked in the window furnishing industry, we had to make some very, very simple parameters for them to be able to assess the window furnishings, which we'll show you shortly. After we came up with those, and actually simultaneously to NatHERS coming to us, the board made a decision that instead of testing fabric specifically, which was the original strategy from Robert Mayer in the early years of WincovER, where every single fabric would need to be tested so that we would be able to get the energy efficiency out of it, we'd move to a more generic world. Why would we do that? Well, we know that, let's take a paste-coated fabric. Shaw has one, Uniline has one, Hunter Douglas has one. I mean, everybody has a paste-coated fabric. Everyone has 20 colours. How are we as a board and how are we as an industry going to justify spending $1,500 to test every single colour in every single range when people have very, very similar fabrics? It made sense to move to a more generic path, and the generic path was about reducing the cost for suppliers to get their product in, so we were able to give results much, much faster to retailers and to consumers. So we took those generics and we did a whole lot of modelling. So we found a company in South Australia, their name's Hubble, and we did a whole lot of modelling. And you would have seen on the video earlier, hundreds of thousands of data points. So there's about 525,000 different models that we did. And what we did was we took all of the government's processes. So the government have a typical archetype of a house, various archetypes, and that's how they make all of their energy efficiency decisions. So all of the modelling that you're about to see has been based on the way that the government makes their decisions. We haven't made anything up. We're using their technology, we're using their systems, and we're doing that intentionally because out of this, one of the biggest drivers besides membership and additional sales and upsells is for us to start making window furnishings a bigger part of the conversation in energy efficiency. 2025, we started building the simulator, which we're about to show you, and it's been about a 12-month build. We had some focus groups earlier this year where we were able to sit down with a whole group of retailers. I think we had maybe 30 retailers who we shared. We went through some sessions, we asked some questions, we took feedback, and we made some changes to the simulator to make sure it talked to all the retailers. There will certainly be things that will need to be changed over the course of the next few years as you guys start to use it, but we believe we've got it to a point where it's ready to, well, we know it's ready to go, and today, when you leave here, you log into the back end of the WSAA website, you can use it straight away and begin issuing certificates to your customers. And today, well, let's say yesterday was launch day. So Rebecca has been part of the association for about 9 years, and she's critical in the scientific side of these things. You know, like in every business, there's the sales guy and then there's the operations guy. Well, I'm the sales guy, and this is all the science. I'm going to hand over to Rebecca for a little bit so she can explain the science behind WincovER.
Thanks, Jason. So there's a lot of people out there sitting in their 1.8-star homes who are spending a lot of money heating and cooling their home, and they're feeling too hot in summer and too cold in winter. And yeah, we want to be able to help them. So they're spending a lot of money on their heating and cooling because heat is either leaking in or out of their home. So heat flows from hot to cold, so in winter it's going out, goes through all of the parts of the building fabric, goes through the ceiling, the walls, the floor, the door, air leaks, and windows play a very big role. Even though they're not so much, as they're a smaller area than, say, your wall area, they're really bad insulators. So they play a really big role in how much heat comes in and out of your home. They're a shortcut. And window furnishings can improve that. They can reduce the amount of heat that is leaking in or out of your home. How do they do that? They do that in two main ways. They can either provide additional insulation to the window, or they can reduce the amount of sunlight that is coming in. So insulation is very important to improving both heating energy use and cooling energy use. And it turns out the very best way that a window covering can can provide additional insulation is by creating a sealed air pocket over the window. So you can do that with a window covering in a bunch of different ways, depending on what kind of product you have. For a curtain, maybe you have a pelmet, you have a full-length curtain, maybe you have a ceiling rail that is closing the air gap at the top and the bottom, and you make sure that the product touches the wall or the window reveal at the sides, and you've enclosed the whole window in the frame and made it this sealed air pocket. For a roller blind, maybe you could use the side channels or a cassette system. So there's different ways you can achieve that. And obviously you can also add insulating material on the top. Normal example is cellular shade, which we know is very insulating, but other materials are also quite insulating, like plantation shutters made of insulating materials like timber or composites. So you also can reduce your cooling energy by keeping sunlight out when it's overheating your home. External shades obviously block sun before it gets to the window. If you have an internal shade, you can block the sunlight, but it's also very important that you reflect it back outside the house so it doesn't have an opportunity to heat your home. So the generic scheme that Jason was talking about is how we are assessing how much the window furnishings provide these features. So how much additional insulation they provide, or how much heat they can reflect from the sun. So we have four categories, or four categories there, and we can assess an individual product against each one. And obviously that depends on how it's installed, so the mounting position of the shade, the material it's made of, and the fabric or the material it's made of for how much light passes through it. And an example of how we might do that is, say, for a roller blind. A roller blind is made generally of a thin single layer of material. We put it in the lower insulation category for that reason. It's not providing a lot of extra insulation on top. And depending on how it's mounted, it can provide different levels of air tightness. So if you have a phase fit front roll, the roller blind is hanging a fair way out from the wall. There are big gaps at the sides and the bottom, so it's providing less air tightness. But if it's in a cassette system, when it's fully closed, there's basically no air gaps around at all, and it's providing that nice sealed air pocket that gives maximum insulation. So you'll see in the simulator when we ask questions about product type and how it's mounted, this is the reason why that we're using that in the background to assess how much additional insulation the product is providing. So to calculate the energy savings, as Jason mentioned, we're using the same software that's used to calculate star ratings for homes. We have to put in a bunch of inputs to that about the building design, where it's located, the construction materials, all of these things. And we provide these, the properties of the window covering. The software calculates how much heat is flowing into or out of the building at every hour. It then can calculate how much energy is required to keep the home comfortable. So, you know, inside you set your thermostat to a certain level and you need to heat or cool your home to compensate for that heat flowing in or out. So then we add up all of those hourly results, we get an annual amount of heating and cooling energy that's required for the home. And we do that again with and without the window shading in place. And the difference is the savings, the energy savings. And we can then also translate that to a cost by taking into account your electricity and gas tariffs. And that's the results that you'll see in the simulator. So we do that a couple of 100,000 times with the modelling. And the simulator tool gives you a really quick and easy way to navigate that, find your closest match. So, hand that back.
So before we thank you, So before I give you a bit of a simulation of a simulator, I just wanted to talk about the two parts of the simulator. So the first half talks about house inputs. So we need to tell the simulator where the house is and how the house functions. So the first part is the archetypes. When I show you the simulator, there's 4 archetypes built into it at the moment. There's single story brick veneers, single story double brick, there's a double story house, and then there's an apartment. Within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're also going to add a duplex, so side by sides, and also a weatherboard house. So ultimately, within the month of whatever we're in, June, is it June? Yeah, June. We'll have 6 archetypes available. Again, these archetypes are no one's houses in this room. It's not intended to be your customer's house. It's the house that the government uses to make decisions on energy efficiency. It's a really important point. We have 19 different climate zones that we're doing. Inside of the simulator, you're asked to put in your postcode. The reason that you're asked to put into your postcode is that the climate zones actually cross state boundaries or state borders. And obviously each state has different energy and gas tariffs, so we need to know the postcodes. In the back end of the website, we have a tariff for each state. We have gone to comparethemarket.com.au and picked the third most expensive or third cheapest, whichever way you look at it, tariff for gas and electricity, and that will be updated yearly to make sure that the tariffs are correct. So as the years go on, the energy savings are actually going to increase because I assume our power costs are going to continue to go up. Star rating is the next question. So instead of asking a customer or asking your salesperson to go out and work out what the star rating of the house is, we know that houses built before 2010 are rated 2-star or less. Anything after 2010 to 2021 are 5 to 6 stars. And anything after 2021 are 7-star rated because they brought in those 7-star ratings. We ask about glazing, single or double, so pretty easy to understand. And then energy source. So for heating, most of the southern states use gas for heating, so obviously there's a different tariff for gas than there is for electricity. In the northern states, you know, up in Queensland, you guys typically heat using electricity. So these are the house inputs, and these are fixed. So you put these in once, and then you can compare as many furnishing manipulations as you want. The furnishing inputs, as Rebecca touched on, there's 4 very simple inputs which have a very, there's a technical background to them, but what we've tried to do is put them into industry jargon. So we have insulation levels, high and low, so we pick the furnishing type at the outset, and that determines what the, it determines what the furnishing is, because that's important for the customer to see on the certificate, but it also tells us whether the product is highly insulating or low insulating. There's air tightness, we manage that through mounting positions. Some furnishings will have questions about mounting positions. Some furnishings won't have questions about mounting positions because there's typically only one type of mounting position. Light transmission, The really simple method that we created for NatHERS assessors was a little bit of light, a lot of light, or no light. We think of that as block out, translucent, and sheer. So we're putting it into the industry jargon so your salespeople know what to do. And then street side colour. So if you're standing outside the house and you're looking in and the window furnishings is closed, is it metallized, is it light, is it medium, or is it dark? So some really, really simple questions. So I'm going to have a bit of a play. I did record a whole video of it, but it goes a little bit too quickly. So I think the best method is for me to actually do the clicker and talk you through it. So this, when you log into the new WSAA website, you'll have access to the simulator and you can come in here and do your simulation. So as I said, there's the 4 archetypes. You can click on double story and then it brings up the map of Australia. Like I said, you put in your postcode. So we'll just do Sydney for the start. We'll do a 5 to 6 star house or a house built between 2010 and 2021. We'll say that the heating source is electric. We'll say that the windows are double glazed. And to start with, we're going to do a simulation based upon all windows. I'll come back in a second and talk about selected windows or part house. I'll do that in a minute. So we select all windows. The most common product that we all use is a roller blind. Let's go with a reveal fit roller blind that's a sunscreen and it has a light colour. So it's a white sunscreen. And straight away, we get our results. So it's quite interesting on the results page. It's quite easy to see. At the top here, you have all the inputs that you've put in. So double story house, it's a whole house simulation. It's in New South Wales. The postcode, when the house was built, what the heating source is and the double glazing. So all the inputs are there. And then on the bottom part, we have the total savings of the home. So you have an 11% annual saving on your heating and cooling load. So this is a very important point. In a household, there is 2 types of energy consumption, really. There's heating and cooling, and then there's power and light. On averages, and Rebecca might yell at me, but for ease of maths for you guys, 50% is heating and cooling, and 50% is light and power. So we're saying that we are going to save 11% on the heating and cooling load. There's no reason, we can't affect the light and power with window furnishing. So we'll only talk about the savings for heating and cooling. That's on the manual side. So manual is a manual operation determined by NatHERS. So NatHERS, again, the government body, they have a set schedule for the way that window furnishings operate. And the way that window furnishings operate in their schedule is the blinds are up during the day and they're down at night. That's their standard operation. So that doesn't really, it makes sense maybe in Victoria or Tasmania where it's nice to let the sun in during the day, but in Queensland or in Sydney when it's hot or in the Northern Territory or WA, you want your blinds down during the day to stop the heat coming in and you want them up at night to let the air flow through. So what we've done is we've created this additional column here which is automated. So what we're saying here is if you put in an automation system and you run your blinds at an operation schedule that we believe is the preferred operating schedule for that postcode, then you're going to get additional savings. So in regards to that operation schedule, you can see at the top there's a button that says operation schedule. If you click on the operation schedule and click on that button, it will bring up another page where it tells you the recommended operation schedule for the postcode that we inputted. And then it will tell you for heating seasons, so to keep the house warm in winter, it's best to have your window furnishings open at 6:20 and closed at 5:20. And then in summer, you're best to close them at 6:20 and reopen them at 7:30. And so if you put a different postcode in, it'll give you a different operating schedule that best suits the window furnishing, and then that's what reflects the automated version. Quickly and easily, you can compare. So up here, you press the compare button. Let's do another roller blind, but let's this time do block out. We'll put the same inputs with reveal, block out, and light, and then straight away you have a comparison. So you have a side-by-side comparison of what a sunscreen roller blind is versus a block out roller blind. And you're able to see the side-by-side comparison. As you scroll down, you can see what the savings are in summer, and you can see what the savings are in winter. It's really, really simple. Also in here, what you're able to do is you're able to save and generate a certificate. So for either of these particular simulations, if you press save and generate a certificate, you can change the name of the certificate to suit the customer's name or the job number, and then this will save in the members side of the WSAA portal, so you'll be able to go back to these certificates and be able to send them back to your customer whenever you need to. Hit save, and it'll automatically create the certificate. On the certificate, it has all the information that you saw on the website. the total savings, the summer savings, and the winter savings, and then it all has all the house inputs on the side, so the customer is aware of all the information that they require. You can also send the results, so here you can press a button to send the results. You can put all your customers' details in and it'll email them the results, so it's really easy for them to get access to orientation. The last thing that I want to show is a part of the focus groups that we did. All of these simulations to start with were done with whole house in mind. So this is a whole house simulation. So the comparison is a whole house without window furnishings to a whole house with window furnishings. And the feedback that we received from all of the retailers when we did the focus group was, well, we don't do whole houses all the time. We do a living room only, or we do the bedroom and then the customer comes back and they do the living room and then the customer comes back and they do the kitchen. And so we added in that additional functionality. So again, doing exactly the same inputs in Sydney, and the construction and the electricity and the double glaze, you can go to selected windows. And in here you have the opportunity to determine whether you're going to do an internal or an external product. There's a couple of very simple questions. How many bedrooms does the house have? And then from there you can just input the information as to which windows in the house that you're doing. So we can say the living room, and then you can add another room, and it could be a study. And from there, what you're actually doing is telling the simulator that you're only going to do these two windows, and it will give you the results for the energy savings for those particular windows. So you hit next, and then we do the same process. You know, choose a cellular, choose a reveal fit, choose a block out, and a light color, and it'll give you the results. And again, like previously, it gives all the information at the top. So double-story house in New South Wales, as I said, but this time it's giving you a part house information, and it's saying that the total area selected is 6.48 square metres. The annual saving is 4% on manual, and it would be 6% for automated. So it's giving the customer the ability to see the results of a part home as well, which we think is going to work really, really well. So to keep going with the, just to summarise these results again, this is, did that work? Yeah. So you can see here the final results for these internal furnishings with the roller blinds and also with a curtain. So 11% annual saving for a screen roller blind, and 12% for a block-out roller blind, and a curtain with a pelmet gives you a 23% saving. If you motorise these and put them on a timer and make them operate to the operation schedule based upon the location of the home, you can see that there's considerable improvement. Similarly with the external products, it worked a bit better when I did it last time. I apologise, I'll resolve that. An external roller shade has a 29% saving, but a 45% saving when it comes to an automated version. And if you go from a close weave to a block out, you can see the savings increase even further. Interestingly, some more technical stuff, only with external furnishings you have summer savings. There's no schedule for winter savings, which is crazy because we all know that a west window and a north window in the winter lets in a lot of heat, but there's no schedule in NatHERS for winter for external shading. So we're going to be able to go to the government now, to CSIRO, to NatHERS, and talk to them and say, look at these savings. We can save 36% of the power consumed for cooling. Imagine what we can do for heating in the winter. Why can't we create a schedule in your system that enables you to do that? And that way then we can improve this, we can show more savings to your consumer, and you can bring that in as a part of the energy efficiency conversation. So the big part is now, how do we generate value for the retailer? And so there's a few parts to this, but before I go too far, I know there's lots of manufacturers in the room and wholesalers. So your retailers can get a lot of value out of this. And I'm really imploring all of you, and I've gone around to most of your stands already and said, sharing this presentation and sharing this story with your retailers is really, really important to the board, and it's really, really important, I think, for the growth of our industry. So I'm going to keep coming around and banging on that door. But as a retailer, those of you sitting in the room, and I'm a retailer, I see quite a lot of value in what we're about to do. And firstly, it's about educating the salesperson on what homes are going to perform better with the types of window furnishings that we put in. So I know that my little brother, he's sitting there, before he goes to a house to do a sales call, he goes on Google Maps and sees what the house is and sees which way it's orientated. And all of these things are going to be really important pieces of information to know before you go into the house, because they're the inputs that you're going to put into the simulator. So knowing if they've got big windows or small windows, knowing if they face north or east or south and west is really going to be important to helping ensure that you can give your consumer the right information. We see huge opportunities for upsells, so speccing higher product on windows. Going from increasing the average dollar value per window is a huge part of this. Instead of selling a block-out roller blind, we now can sell a curtain with a pelmet or a honeycomb or an external shade, and that's our business. We want to be able to do more dollars per window without having to get more customers. That is the most beautiful way for all of us to grow our business. I'm not trying to tell you how to suck eggs, but logically, if I have 100 homes and they're all $2,000 and I have 100 homes that do $10,000, I'm in a much better spot. I don't need any more staff. I don't need any more systems. I don't need any more installers, and it's going to work really, really well for us as an industry. Obviously, the automated path and making the window furnishings operate based upon the best possible schedule is fantastic. So upgrading to motorization, upgrading to home automation, putting timers on the systems to ensure that they open and close at the right time are going to be great. Tablet ready, take it into your customer's home. You can use it immediately. You can see how quick and easy it is to press the buttons. It's easy to close it. It's easy to compare. It's super, super quick for your salesperson to go out and show them. Obviously, the CO2 reductions for customers who are interested in that additional part of energy saving and that reduction in CO2, I think is really, really valuable. And then the huge part about how powerful externals are. And again, that's that conversation for the retailer who typically sells only internals. This is an opportunity to really push you guys into the external space, and because the customers are going to get such a massive added benefit when it comes to their cooling and heating or cooling savings with external product. They're very keen to get onto you. Also, I think it's going to differentiate yourself. So not every single retailer in Australia is going to be on this tool and using it. So I encourage you to be the one that presents the energy certificate to your customer. If you're presenting the energy certificate compared to the other person who isn't, that's a differentiator, and I'm hopeful that that's going to get your sale across the line. The certificate, like I said, and like you've seen, super easy to understand, super clear, and easy to issue and easy to save and easy to resend. The members portal, which hopefully you guys have already got your username and passwords to, they all were emailed out on Tuesday. If you haven't, find me or Wes or Cherie, who's in the back at the WSAA stand, which is hidden behind the Verisol stand. We should have been right in the middle, but maybe that's my ego talking. So the member portal, you'll be able to log in, you'll be able to get all your certificates, and you'll be able to reissue them to your customers. Today and throughout the entire show, there's 25% off membership. We really want as many retailers signing up as possible. So if you're not a retailer, it's $450 plus GST, so you get 25% off. It is an annual charge, but if you don't pay, then you're not able to use the tool, and I think that's going to be an issue for you guys moving forward. How are we going to keep perpetuating this? So there's some webinars coming up later in the month, so on the dates as you can see on the screen. This is the opportunity to get the rest of your business here. So I know, the owners of the businesses are here, or the managers. You have teams back at home where they are going to be really interested in this product, and they're probably the ones that are going to go out and sell it. Get them on these webinars, and we'll go through the whole process again. We'll teach them, we'll train them, and we'll show them exactly how this tool works. We will run webinars all through the rest of the year, at least 2 every single month. So please bring your salespeople and bring the rest of your team along so they can understand exactly what's going on. Finally, next steps, what are we going to do next? So at the beginning, I said we have 6 archetypes. They're all residential. Next, we're going to add commercial archetypes. So you can imagine at the simulator at the beginning, instead of starting just with the houses, it'll be a button to say residential or commercial. You'll go into commercial, and there'll be various commercial archetypes. So you'll be able to, for the commercial customers out there, you'll be able to tell them the savings that you can get commercially. Government lobbying is a huge part of this tool. So now, because we are using their backbone of science, we now have a tool to go talk to them about upgrading the importance of window furnishings in the energy efficiency conversation, and hopefully starting to get some funding like the solar industry has and the insulation industry has, so we can get window furnishings front and center. And then API integration. So any of you that use any of the software platforms, I've spoken to Aaron from QuoteRide and Kerry from Insight and talking to all the other software platforms, you should be able, we will be able to put the results onto the quote. So you'll be able to do your quote in their system as long as you put in the same house inputs that you had before. I'll come to in a sec. It'll spit out the energy savings onto the bottom of the quote. You'll have to be a member though to get those results. So you're not getting around me, I promise. Yeah, so they're the next steps for us. And yeah, that's it. So any questions?